Welcome. My name's Mary Zupke. I'm one of the dietitians at the Delmar Cancer Center, and we're happy to have you guys at home and you all here. And this is Being Well, a Guide to Survivorship. Eating Well for Survivorship, Maintaining a Healthy Weight, our week 2.
Yeah, I'm Nancy Zawicki. I work full-time at the Delmar Cancer Center, and I'm a registered dietitian too. Mary and I do a lot of, well, we work together and then we do a lot of classes together, so we have fun. So yeah, you'll see on the slide here, we're at week 2. There's 2 more classes. They're on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And so we hope that you continue to join us. We'd love to have you, both people virtual and people in person. So we continue with Being Well. We talk about the Mediterranean way of eating. So this is a survivorship series for people who are getting close to being done. But if you're feeling well going through treatment, you can do Mediterranean anytime. But it is a plant-based diet and lifestyle. And so more emphasis on poultry and fish and even meatless meals too are important. We want you to increase your servings of fruit and vegetables. That's where you're going to get a lot of your nutrition. Using healthy fats like olive oil and avocado oil is good. And then include low-fat dairy. Also adding whole grains is important, and getting activity. So walking, whatever you like, bike riding, running if you want, all that counts towards this. So
We do talk about it being the plant-based diet. We kind of mentioned before that it is recommended by the American Cancer Society, the American Institute for Cancer Research. So it's based on years of evidence and studies in that region. And the plant foods, fruits and vegetables, as Nancy mentioned, whole grains, herbs and spices. And there are lots of protective properties. We know the vitamins and minerals. I always talk about these micronutrients that we don't even know about too, that are in these foods. So it's just important to kind of keep that in mind and try to get that variety. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is a healthy weight. And normally when we're talking about nutrition, instead of worrying about numbers and calories, those can be a guideline, but really we talk about healthy eating for the long term and making good food choices. So the healthy weight looks different for everyone, and that's kind of why you can't really stick to one particular calorie level. You have different amounts of protein that are varied, so a healthy weight really depends on the individual. Gender, height, age, bone structure, body composition. And your BMI is one of those guides that we talked a little bit about last time.
yeah, so we're not saying, oh, everybody needs to be a skinny mini. It's not like that at all. And don't even try to get back to your high school weight, because people are still growing during that time. So really, if you know what weight you feel best at, that's okay. But if you've just been through treatment and you've been through a lot, and now you're trying to get your energy level back and getting back to a more normalized lifestyle, that's the important thing. But then as you eat more of a Mediterranean way, you're going to be making healthier food choices. And just through that, you're going to experience a little bit of weight loss and watching your portion size. So we use BMI just as an indicator of where you fall into the weight categories, like normal weight, overweight, obese. But again, it's not, we don't put a huge emphasis on it. They do find that people who do have more normal BMI, they have less disease and longer lives, but it's always there and something to strive for, but don't take extreme measures. And then the chart below just shows what the number you fit into. So on the far left, you can see on that graph, it gives the pounds. Down below is the height. And then you can kind of see what category you might be in. But it's just some information to know about. So
there's a lot of information out there about weight management and protein. And I think protein kind of got a bad rap some years ago. Everybody was eating too much meat and that kind of thing. We know now that people are not getting as much protein as they need. This shows 30 grams of protein and what that looks like, especially at breakfast. And there are some studies that showed 25 to 30 grams of protein is all we can absorb every 3 hours or so. So it's important to kind of spread out those foods throughout the day. And this helps with healthy body weight. which helps with prevention of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and some cancers. So studies show that a greater weight loss with higher protein diets also can come about. And the lower protein diets and the energy restricted diets might not be as effective as in the past. But how much protein is really needed? So this is just an example for a 150-pound person that you divide by 2.2 to get the kilograms, and then you multiply that by these factors here. We usually recommend to talk to your dietitian to get the specific amount because these numbers are just estimates based on your lifestyle. So if someone is exercising a lot or someone has wounds that need to be healed or post-surgical, you're going to need different factors to help in. So talking with your dietitian, but it is a good, I like this chart just to show 68 to 82 grams of protein per day for this individual. That kind of starts to get your mind thinking like, okay, like 70, 80. If you're in treatment, we do a 1.2 to 1.5. So that means you're looking at 90, 100, 115. So, so talk with us or your dietitian wherever you are to find out.
And sometimes more is not better, you know, because it can be hard on the kidneys when you break it down into calories and all in your body. You need a balance of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. So then where it says foods first, sources of protein. So to give you an idea what a normal portion size might be, this is a food model. It's about a 3 or 4 ounce burger that's cooked. Usually we say maybe like the palm of your hand or even a deck of cards is a good way to show portion size. This is like a boneless chicken breast, so it's not real big, but remember there's no bone in there. And then piece of fish, other sources of protein could be some almonds, and then cashews, but with the nuts and all, they do have a higher fat content. So kind of like a little handful, like you want to just give yourself some limitations on how much. Tuna's in there, an egg. Those are just all the values that they show for protein content. Cheese, cottage cheese. A lot of people are talking about cottage cheese now, and you could do low fat. I put it in eggs. I made a quiche with the cottage cheese. Now I've been bringing it for lunch, a little thing of cottage cheese with sliced up strawberries. It has good staying power, and that's the good thing about protein. If you are trying to be more careful with calories, protein ties up your hunger longer, so you can get from meal to meal. If you just had all carbohydrate like breads or even sweets at a meal, you're going to get hungry a lot quicker before the next meal. So it does tie up your hunger, and it ties up your blood sugar too. And then some plant sources of protein. There is tofu on there. What else? Lentils, beans, milk, seeds, all those. You know, if you were making a meatless meal like eggs, make a nice dish, or like a chili with just beans in it rather than meat. Those all give you vegetable protein.
Yeah, so some tips for adding protein to the diet. We do talk a lot about meal planning, and it doesn't have to be extravagant meal planning, but it does help to kind of block out some certain things that you're going to have for the week. Adding yogurt, nut butters, or protein powder to smoothies is really helpful. A lot of times people ask us about smoothies and they just do fruit, and that is helpful, but it's not giving you any protein. So it probably will, it could cause your blood sugar to kind of fluctuate, and it's not helping you maintain weight. Hard cooked eggs, cheese, nuts, seeds, as Nancy mentioned, you can add those to salads or even soups. I like the idea of adding those to soups. It gives it a little crunch. Adding legumes like steamed edamame or beans to soups or salads. I like to add like a handful of lentils. If you get the small, like green or yellow ones, those cook really fast, 15, 20 minutes. You can throw those in your soup. You get a little bit, you can maybe have less meat in that particular item, and then you're getting some more nutrition and getting more of a variety of plants, which is helpful. And then choose milk or soy milk instead of water as a beverage if you're looking to increase your protein. And then add ground turkey or tofu crumbles to marinara sauce, lasagna, or casseroles.
So Mary, back to the smoothie, you can get like make an all fruit smoothie, but we're looking for that protein source, like Mary mentioned. So even like plain yogurt, added to it will give you that protein. Or you could even blenderize cottage cheese and mix fruit with it. People are doing a lot with it.
Yeah.
Or even a protein powder if you wanted. So, but
Right.
you do want to get the protein in there.
Yeah, cottage cheese is in everywhere now.
Yeah. I was at Trader Joe's and they had samples of cottage cheese dip. So it was blenderized cottage cheese with some herbs. And they were passing out little samples and you can make that yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I have, there's
Good.
actually a good recipe on the Living Well website for artichoke, I think the artichoke and cottage cheese and Parmesan cheese, and that's a really good dip that we make in our house a lot.
Yeah.
We can also talk about protein shakes a little bit, and we have some samples out here. There are quite a wide variety of protein shakes, but the things you want to remember are the protein content, for example. And then also carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, added ingredients, and whether or not it's organic. Calories we didn't have listed there, but that's also a big consideration. Ensure Complete, for example, is high calorie and high protein. So you'll see a lot of them are about that 30 grams because of the absorption that we talked about earlier. The Ensure Plus is a good one if you don't want an artificial sweetener, because a lot of times sucralose can cause problems. And then the Ensure Max is another one of the 30 grams. Orgain has another higher 30 gram one. These are 20, but Orgain is a good one that if you can't tolerate milk, because it's made with pea protein and very easy to tolerate. And then Premier is another 30 gram one. And then the Boost very high calorie, that one has 530 calories. So if we're really trying to get calories and protein in, we often will recommend that. So we don't really recommend Ensure Complete during treatment because of the antioxidant levels really high. But there are a lot of options out there. And I mentioned Unjury too. That's like a chicken broth one. So there, it's good to just kind of let us know and we can help you navigate that. But and if you can't get it from food, which is what we would recommend, getting nutrition from food,
this can supplement your nutrition. If you're at the Delaware Cancer Center, we do have, Mary manages at a pantry, so to speak, of all these products, most of the products. So if you're interested in sampling some first before you buy it, we can give you some samples. Yeah.
We don't want to give you these because they've been here.
Oh, yeah. You don't want those. But the other cancer centers, most of them have it. So, you can ask for a sample, try it, and they are good cold. Some people put like Premier Protein, they'll use it as a creamer. They'll add it to drinks, a warm drink. So that might be another thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we don't push these. It's more if it's intended, if it's needed. So anyhow, and then food first. So this little plate here with all the different food groups, that's what we use if you're planning meals. You want to have, like you can see on the left-hand side, the fruit and vegetables. You want half your plate to be fruits and vegetables, 1/4 of it grains, whether it's bread, rice, noodles, and then 1/4 of it protein foods, and then dairy. So it's a good way to figure out, oh, I'm getting a balanced meal. What Mary was saying before is eat for color and variety, because on the left, those fruits and vegetables are going to give you your anti-inflammatory properties with all their good nutrition in there. So try new vegetables and fruit. That's what we do here. We try to include a lot in our recipe just to expose you of getting the taste and see if you like it. And then, like if you keep a notebook, I'm the paper person, I like to jot down a little sample dinner and keep it so you can refer back to it. But those are the components you want to include in your meal to know that it's a balanced meal. And then portion size is important too, because that's, to help you determine if you're getting just the right amount of calories. Americans tend to supersize things. So if something says at the recipe, it says serves 4, one serving is whatever. So say it's 1 cup. It is good to retrain our eyes and measure out something to see, oh, and put on the plate and say, oh, that's what 1 cup, 1 serving looks like. So you can bring these cups back out and, just train your eyes so you can see that. Like things like blueberries, like extra blueberries is fine because they're low calorie, they're high in antioxidants, but it's more the meats. You don't want the meat to be your center portion, your highlight of the meal. You want it to be off to the side. Although a lot of people do like it that way, it's how we're used to. But using meats, but cutting it up and added to a dish with the vegetables is good. Like I like to make like a little stir fry. It's not really fried. I just saute the vegetables, add some brown rice, and then some meats to it, cut up small, and throw it in there so you get the flavor. We call them like bowls. It's kind of like what we're doing tonight. We're doing a bowl where you include all those foods in one dish, but it's not like a big piece of chicken, it's a portion of it. And then if you are hungry, more vegetables. Raw vegetables are great. You can make a yogurt dip, cottage cheese dip, yeah, to dip into it. Or hummus is great. Those are all things that give you protein and they're lower in calories. It's not just a high fat dip, it's got some nutritional benefit.
Yeah, large portions do add up. And I think we mentioned last week, if you were here, about 100 calories a day can add up to 10 pounds of weight gain in a year. And I recently did some research on some Starbucks drinks. And depending on if you get a Starbucks drink and, you get 1 pump or 4 pumps or whatever, that can be the difference between 200 or 300 calories. So it can really add up. And, every time I drive by, there are just like cars and cars there. So something to keep in mind that a little bit and small steps can really make a big difference. You can see kind of here the deck of cards and shape. And Nancy was talking about that for the portions for meat. And then we have the next slide, which is really helpful. 20 years ago, the portions were a lot different. And excuse me, that mini bagel was the size of a bagel. And now, you get the Panera bagels and the Panera cookies. And so think about when you're going out, monitoring that portion and, have split it with someone or have a quarter. If you're wanting to gain weight, then you're okay. But if you're wanting to manage weight, then it's good to watch the portion.
Mary and I have this thing going at work when we work together. We take turns bringing each other coffee. And so I always get the grande skim hazelnut latte with just 1 pump of hazelnut. And it's just the right amount of sweetness. But the other day they made it wrong and I got 4 pumps. I could not even drink it. It was so sugary. So your taste buds readjust. And that's something, even with salt, Mary and I don't use salt literally in our recipes. We try to use the fresh herbs because gradually your taste buds readjust and then you get the flavor of garlic and onion and black pepper and fresh herbs. You're not relying on salt. So that's the kind of cool thing with our taste buds. They're trainable, So then the next slide is portion distortion. And boy, that has so changed from growing up. You could, as kids, we had a burger chef by us and we'd get a burger and fry and a drink. And it was just a nice amount, but now everything's so big portions. And I think more and more people are getting aware of that we don't need all those large portions. And it is true, they're posting the calories. So that right there, you're like, whoa, I'm getting too many calories. So, really limiting the fast foods. I mean, if you're in a pinch or if you like to do it once a week, it's okay. But, if you're on vacation, sometimes you almost have to, but it's kind of fun to try to do more meals in your home, like even 4 dinners a week and then keep it open for if you're going out or something. But yeah, you don't want a steady diet of all that.
We've talked about too, getting an appetizer and splitting that for your main meal because sometimes those can be really big, or getting 2 appetizers or something. You're the customer, so you can be in charge.
Yeah. And it's fine to ask for a takeout. Sometimes I get a salad and it's so big, I ask for the takeout container, I split it, and then I take it to work the next day, but I just have that. I do that before I even start eating it. So, and then portioning for meal prep. Yeah, I like using the glass containers, like there's like a little 3 cup size with snap-on lid. I like that. I think if you're using those black plastic containers, I don't like to reheat in those. I'd rather transfer it out and put it on a porcelain plate or whatever to reheat. Um, Really minimize using plastics to store food. People will often use glass jars like those ball jars to even put grains in if you want and label them. But people will make those overnight oats and that's something nice in one of those glass ball jars and that can take it to work. So trying to use
The
the,
salads too in ball jars.
Yeah.
Whenever you shake up the dressing, you put the dressing on the bottom.
yeah, so going back to glass is really good. You know, plastics came out when I was a little younger, but we didn't have them when we were really young growing up, so it's a newer thing and yeah, I think it's convenient, but it's also, we don't know, how, so if you can do glass, that's even best.
So some tips for meal planning, build the main entree around your vegetables and whole grains and legumes. We want to do kind of in smaller amounts, but all using lean meats and poultry and fish or eggs. Add variety, so try some new recipes. I've mentioned sometimes about an app that I use called Paprika, which is it's a one-time purchase, but it's a really good way to organize your recipes. It's a little red, it's called Paprika 3 in the App Store, and it's a little red paprika box. I can't say that fast. But it's a good way to, you can get grocery lists on there. There's a browser where you can look in the browser and then download the recipes really quickly and then organize them like main course, appetizers. It really helps to have your recipes handy because a lot of times, like if my husband's cooking, he's like, where was that in a magazine or online
Yeah.
or in a book or so I like that you can kind of organize them all there and it helps with meal planning. And then if you want to pick 3 recipes for the week, you just push a button and it goes right to gives you your grocery list, which is great too. So but it's just as easy to say, okay, on Monday, we're going to have this chicken one, write it down, put it on the fridge, whatever is easier for you. But just kind of make a list. Make meals easier to prepare. Use a crock pot, get some things. Maybe you're going to make a big salad. You're going to get the salad already chopped up and then you just use that as your base and then add some things to it. We're kind of doing that tonight a little bit. Cook in larger quantities and freeze portions of it. I love doing that with roasted vegetables or chicken and having extra chicken. You can freeze small portions for later. Make sure you're labeling the container so that it always looks like it's going to be different, but when everything freezes, it all looks the same in there. So, and then plan for nutritious snacks, fresh or dried fruit, raw veggies, whole grain crackers, low-fat cheese sticks, low-fat yogurt, and eat for the season so that if you can, right now, it's so fun because people have some gardens and there's a lot of fresh vegetables, even in the grocery stores. So plan around the season is helpful too.
So I was going to mention Mary is more app oriented and I'm more paper, but I just have a 3-ring notebook and I have it divided by appetizer salads. And if I have a favorite recipe, I'll make a copy of it and I slip it into that category. Or if a friend shares a recipe, it goes right in there. So for me, it's fine. I just open my notebook and I use the page protectors so they stay good. And then go from there. So any method works, whatever you like to do. And then you make your grocery list. So
yeah, for sure. So fats and oils, you want to choose from the healthy fats. We usually cook with olive oil. We always have the question about avocado oil because it's also a healthy one. We don't usually fry a lot of items, so we don't have to get the smoke point really high. We use olive oil kind of works for most things.
Yep.
Canola oil is okay sometimes. Nuts and nut butter seeds. You're getting the healthy fats if you're eating salmon and other types of fish. And then less frequently, we don't really see trans fats anymore, but you want to try to have the fats from animal sources like red meat, pork, bacon, sausage, lunch meat, full fat cheese, whole milk. If you're not trying to gain weight, then you want to cut back a little bit on the fat in those. Same with butter. We'll I'll use occasionally butter in baking, but, you know, just in moderation. I mean, we can have butter in our fridge for a long time.
Yeah, I just keep extra virgin olive oil in my pantry, and be careful when you're buying it because you want to look at the back where it says ingredients. You want it to be 100% extra virgin olive oil. Sometimes you can find it on sale and it might have soybean oil mixed with it. So really double check it. But I just use that because if you have too many different types of oils, they can go rancid from not using them and end up throwing them out. But use it for everything. Yeah. So the next slide is limit your sodium and refined carbohydrates. So Mary and I really believe in that. Like I said before, we don't like to add salt. I mean, if there's a certain food like an egg and you're like, oh, I could just use a little tiny bit of salt, it's okay. You know, we just don't want you just shaking it on. I keep a little jar. It's like a pinch thing where I could take a little pinch and put on, but I try not to do that. I just love fresh ground pepper, even keeping red pepper flakes on hand. People will use balsamic vinegar on foods and your vinegars too, marinades. But it is important to limit our sodium. It helps with blood pressure control because a lot of people do have high blood pressure. It's kind of hereditary, you know, based on your mom, your dad, you know, if they had it. It can increase risk of heart attack and stroke. Mediterranean diet does limit simple carbohydrates, which is sugar, candies. You mean you can have it once in a while, like as a treat, but we don't want you to replace a meal with simple carbohydrates, like sweets for a meal. Because the sweets can spike our blood sugar. It can make you not be able to get from meal to meal because you get hungry. And we don't say like sugar feeds cancer. We're just saying try to limit it in your diet, get more of like your vegetables and fruit and your good foods. And then if you want a little piece of dark chocolate, no big deal. We don't want to be like the food police or anything. And we want you to enjoy food, but just, you know, do it smartly too. And then the last thing is choose high fiber foods. So when you select bread, you want to look at the ingredient panel and look for the words whole grain, you know, like whole wheat flour. That you want WHOLE as your first ingredient. That means it's going to be a high in fiber product. You can select brown rice, but sometimes I will have jasmine rice. It's good with certain dishes. So include a variety. Usually say try to have about 3 servings of whole grains a day. It helps with digestion and increases our fiber intake. And then, you know, with high in antioxidants, it helps ward off chronic inflammation.
We're going to talk more about fiber next week with the microbiome. So Mediterranean eating, we did talk a little bit about some plant-based proteins and making sure you're adding in some beans that are the food model over there. And white beans, like the cannellini beans, are so good. That recipe is great. Speaking of recipes, make sure you check out our Living Well recipes. As we mentioned, we have many classes, and there's also some on the YouTube channel for Living Well where we've done some demos to kind of give you some tips with those. So make sure you check that out. Adding beans to your dishes can give you those phytochemicals, which helps inhibit cancer cells, high in soluble fiber, iron and magnesium, which is really helpful. A lot of times we do see some electrolyte imbalances during treatment based on some of the chemo drugs. So getting that iron and magnesium is really helpful. And then you really kind of want to strike a balance like this diagram shows, food, exercise, and calories. They're all connected because we need those calories to fuel our bodies, but we want to make sure that we're getting some activity in our day. Depending on the intensity, you may need more or less of the calories. And if the goal is to lose weight, then, you know, some of the tips that we talked about portion control are going to really help. There are other people that need to gain weight, as we mentioned today, and in that case, you're going to be looking for more calories and protein every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day to make sure that you're maintaining those goals.
Yeah, and then activity is a part of the Mediterranean diet and lifestyle. Everyone's at a different place with exercise, you know, knee injury, that'll slow you down. But even if you're not used to taking long walks, or say you live alone in your little leery of going out on your own, every hour, if you can get up and move around your place, that's a good start. It keeps your bones, your muscles intact. And then maybe if there's a friend that would want to take a short walk with you, but you have to put yourself in that position of where you're at with treatment, or if you've just finished, what's your energy level like? So don't start, going gangbusters, kind of listen to your body and push yourself, but not too much. Like I said before, I love to just take a walk. I walked with my daughter on Sunday and we pushed farther this time, and it was like, wow, this is great. But I know with this heat, you have to be smart too. So going earlier and then staying hydrated and cooling down is important. But you want to strive for daily exercise, or even 5 times a day, if whatever fits into your lifestyle. The U.S. dietary guidelines recommend 150 minutes a week. You can break that down into like 30 minutes a day for 5 days. And then start small and kind of listen to your body too, that you don't over push yourself. But you'll start feeling the benefits of it, more limber and feeling stronger too.
Yeah, just a reminder that it's helping with decreasing stress.
Yeah.
So the Mediterranean diet and lifestyle, I like this picture because it shows a beautiful variety of colors. And we're going to be showing you some colors today in our recipe as well. Thinking about eating from the rainbow and getting all of those different colors to get all those micronutrients is so helpful. So we always try to show these colorful pictures in our recipes and also in our presentations, trying to get, plant-based proteins in there, healthy fats, using those fresh herbs and spices. We did pick some for you guys today from the garden, some fresh mint and some fresh basil and some parsley.
Oh, did you say mint?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking of something else.
And then Nancy talked about regular exercise, which is good. And then just in summary, reducing stress, getting some activity and good nutrition. Those are all the things, the key things that we want to have you take away today, and make sure that you take advantage of the other resources here at Living Well with the support groups, all of the other classes and therapy sessions that they have here, and massages. So that's amazing, all the resources that are here.
So we're going to move on to do our recipe. All right, so today we're making the roasted chicken hummus bowl, and simple ingredients. So we're going to just start off with some fresh spinach in a bowl here. It was a triple wash spinach, but we still wash it again. I just like that habit, because sometimes, especially with spinach, sometimes you get a little dirt on it, even though it was washed. So we start with that, and then we're going to just add some brown rice to it. I had warmed it up, but it'll be okay. Just it's already cooked. A little bit of brown rice in here. So.
Right. Then next we've got our tomatoes. So we're gonna just compose the little bowl here. You really can do them however you want. Sometimes they see them kind of fancy where you do like little sections. So we're gonna put those tomatoes there. And then we've got some yellow, this one's kind of orangish, peppers. So we're gonna put some of those in there, and you're already, can you see, it's kind of hard to see over there, but you can kind of see that we're already getting some beautiful colors there, which is awesome. And then I think we're ready for our avocados.
Oh, well.
You want me to wait? Okay.
You must think these are baked potatoes, but they're not. Our avocados were rock hard. So Aaron looked up for us what you can do. They say don't put them in the microwave, but put them in the oven at 250 degrees for about a half hour, and then put them in the refrigerator. But even after a half hour, they were still kind of hard. So I'll do this later before we serve it, but they feel a little bit softer. They're a little browner too, but We'll see.
So that's one thing that
Let 'em cool a
Nancy
bit.
and I have learned during the past 5 years with everything going on in the world, that you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would be doing recipe demos and you couldn't find the ingredients
In the
and,
grocery stores, we couldn't.
you know, in the
Yeah.
grocery stores. And so we would say, okay, today we're using this because that's all we had. So that's part of the fun of cooking, and that's okay. You don't want to get stressed about something not being there in your kitchen, or if you don't have the right kind of vinegar, you're probably okay to use a different
Switching it
one.
out,
You
yeah.
have to be flexible, and I think that takes a little stress off of the whole cooking thing.
Yeah, and if you had a few days' notice, you could put those in a paper bag, sometimes with a banana or something, the gases in it help ripen it, but we just walked in today, so. All right, and then we're gonna add some red onion. Onions give some really good flavor. They are anti-inflammatory, so you could do leeks or red onion, white onion, scallions, chives. It's all those are in the onion family, and they add some really good flavor. And add some color too, a little purpleness.
And then, are you doing the?
And then I'll just add to some, we had olives from last week. We thought, let's just use them because they're part of the Mediterranean diet. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of Kalamata olives too. I liked in that salad we made how it gave a nice little taste. It was a little bit salty, so we're not adding salt, but that kind of gave it that flavor.
And then we chopped up some chicken tenders and sauteed those in a little bit of olive oil, but also we used a little bit of the herb de Provence that we like. Herb de Provence doesn't have any salt, so it's kind of like Italian seasonings without the salt. So it gives a lot of flavor, which is what we really like. And a lot of times I'll say, if it says a teaspoon, put in a tablespoon because you need more flavor. So we've kind of heated up our chicken and it's ready to go. And so we're going to add that to our bowl. But because we have some other sources of protein, we don't need a lot of chicken. So I'll put that right there.
This is amazing. Look at it. It's warm, but it's soft. I was able to cut it really easily.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're learning with you guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So she's going to add the avocado, and then you want to add yours, and I'll do the
Sure.
dressing. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I mean, it's soft. Oh, I'm sorry. What am I
That's
doing?
okay.
Hold on. I'm all excited. It worked. All right, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of lemon juice to that. And then we're gonna top it with some dried cranberries and almonds. Again, it was hard. Person that shops for us, she couldn't find just slivered almonds, so she got a combination, which is fine. You know, we don't, it'll just give the same flavor. So I'm just gonna add just a little squeeze of lemon juice.
And then we have a little bit to add a little bit of extra protein. We have a little hummus. So we're going to put that in there too, and that'll kind of give it an interesting texture. There's the nuts. And then we've got this homemade vinaigrette that we're making. And I put in the vinegar and the Dijon mustard. And that's kind of the French way to do it because the Dijon mustard is our emulsifier. We're going to add a little bit more of the lemon juice here to get a little more of the kind of acid part of the vinaigrette. And then we're going to add the olive oil kind of slowly, and then it'll emulsify. So you don't want to add more than what's in your dish. So you can add like less than half and it'll still emulsify. But if you add all of it at once, it won't. So you have to kind of do it bit by bit. We kind of like the dressing a little bit more acid anyway.
I do. I don't like the oily taste. I like the zing of the vinegar.
Yeah, so, and then we're gonna add a little bit of pepper to that. And then we've got some beautiful fresh parsley that we got from the garden today, which is gonna give it a yummy fresh taste, and oh, I love that. And then that's it.
I just added a pinch of peppermint leaves from the garden and basil too, just to add some extra antioxidants.
All right, so it's hard to see this little teeny bowl, but we're gonna add our little bit of vinaigrette there. And that with the avocado, she's gonna mash it up and put more
Yeah.
lemon juice. That is our bowl today.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit hard to see all the colors, but you can kind of see the red, the orange, the purple, the craisins, the hummus, those spinach leafy greens under there, and the chicken. So that's an easy thing to do. We added a lot of ingredients so you can kind of see how they work. But for those of you that are at home, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week for our microbiome presentation, which is really exciting research. And have a good night. And we hope that we can have you taste at a future class.
Thank you.